What's going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys 10 players that I think are going to have bounce back years next season for the NHL. Now, I do want to specify these are not all about points. I think it's more about individual performance as well. So there are some guys that maybe struggled in points, but I think just overall their whole game in general will improve next year. Not saying they had a terrible year this year. I just think it's going to get even better next year. Now, I am a little biased. You guys know I'm a Canucks fan. I do have 3 Vancouver Canucks on this list, but I feel like it's legit, so we'll talk about them. But before we hop into this, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, meanwhile, if you guys subscribed, like the video if you enjoyed, and with that said, let's get right into it. So let's start it off with the Vancouver Canuck here, and let's start it off with one that I'm not 100% sure deserves to be on this list, but I kind of still think deserves to be on this list, and that's Elias Pettersson. Now, PD still had a pretty decent year last year, but there's one thing that was different about PD, and PD has not played a full 82-game season since coming into the NHL. His very first year in the NHL, he had 71 games played with 66 points. Second year in the NHL, he played 68 games with 66 points again. And then last year, he only played 26 games and put up 21 points. I think things are going to change for PD. I think PD's going to play majority of the year, fingers crossed, and I think he will put up more than a point per game. He's been under a point per game since coming into the NHL, and I think PD is actually better than that. I do think next year he's going to light it up. He's going to play a lot better, and yeah, like I said, I think he's going to be over point per game at the end of the season. Whether he puts up, if he plays an 82-game season, I see PD putting up roughly 95 points, which will be a really good bounce back season for him considering the injuries he went through last year. Next up is kind of an obvious one. I got Vladimir Tarasenko with the St. Louis Blues. Do see Tarasenko having an insane bounce back year. Last year he did only play 24 games and he got 14 points, so quite low for him. And then I believe he only played 10 games the year before that and he had 10 points. So that's about what you expect from Tarasenko, about point per game guy. Before he got injured though, in 76 games he had 68 points, 33 goals. He had back-to-back 33 goals, then he had 39 goals, then he had 40 goals. The guy's an elite goal scorer, and I do think next year, whether he's on the St. Louis Blues and he figures it out, or he's with another team, I do think Tarasenko will have an insane bounce back year. I see him putting up roughly 30 goals, maybe 35 goals, and probably honestly close to 70 points if he plays all 82 games. Number 3, I have another Vancouver Canuck. That's OEL Larsen, who has struggled in Arizona. I know this is the big gamble, and as a Canucks fan, I'm hopeful. I want this guy to exceed. I want him to bounce back and play very well in Vancouver. I'm just not 100% sold that that's actually what's going to happen, but I have him on this list because I fully believe. Last year in 46 games, he had 24 points and he was a minus 17. He's been pretty much a minus throughout his whole entire career with Arizona, which hurts. So hopefully he's not that way with Vancouver. I do think if he has a good solid shutdown player pairing and with how good and defensive Vancouver's offense is, I do think it'll help him out being on just an overall better team than Arizona. I do actually expect OEL to play quite a bit better next year. I do think in 82 games he'll still put up roughly maybe 40-50 points, which ain't bad. He's going to be on that second defense pair, so that's good, to be honest. So that's how I think OEL will bounce back next year. Next up for me is more of a personal bounce back, and that's for Thomas Tatar. Thomas Tatar signed in New Jersey. I don't think Thomas Tatar is going to be that 60-point, almost point per game guy that he was in his first year in Montreal, or second year, sorry, in Montreal. Last year, he played 50 games. He was in and out of the lineup. He was a healthy scratch for the playoffs for Montreal. And in 50 games, he put up 30 points, 10 goals, 20 assists. I do think Thomas Tatar is better than that. The year before that, in 68 games, he had 61 points, 22 goals, almost 40 assists. Thomas Tatar is an elite, really good player. And I think if he goes to another team, he's going to play very well. I do see him putting up, if he plays a full 82-game season, roughly 60 points, which for $4.5 million, I believe he signed for, you cannot go wrong. Next up for me having a bounce back year is actually Freddy Anderson, who now plays for the Carolina Hurricanes. Freddie had a really rough year last year with the Leafs. He got hurt. He only had a 2.96 goals against average with a 0.9 or 0.895 save percentage. Not good. I do think though, being on a good Carolina Hurricanes team with actually decent Carolina Hurricanes defense, other than them losing Freddy Anderson, that hurt, or Other than them losing Dougie Hamilton, that hurts. I do still think Carolina has one of the best defense in the league, so I do think that's going to help out Anderson quite a bit. I see him bouncing back and actually having a pretty decent year. As long as he can stay healthy, I see him playing fairly well for the Canes. Next up is a player who didn't even play last year, and that's Jonathan Toews from the Chicago Blackhawks. I think Jonathan Toews will come back, and this is more of a bounce back year for him personally. Now, I know we didn't play last year, so it's like, how can he bounce back from something he didn't really play? I still see it as he missed a whole entire year. Like, personally, that's got to be tough on him. A competitor, a guy who loves hockey, he misses a whole entire season. And I think he's going to come back, and he's going to be back to his regular self, if not even better. I do think Chicago low-key has a sneaky good team. You guys will see that come closer to the season. I'll do a ranking on where I think teams are going to place in the year once we get through free agency and everything. But I do think Toews will come back and put up pretty close to a point per game. If he plays 82 games, I do see him having close to 80 points. Next up is another Canuck, my last one, and that's Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes struggled defensively last year. In 56 games, he put up 41 points, which isn't bad for Quinn Hughes, but he was a minus 24. I do think Quinn will focus heavily on defense this year, and I think he will improve his defensive game, especially being paired next to a decent defensive defenseman, probably Travis Hamonic the whole time. I do think Quinn will up his defensive game, and I still think he'll put up roughly 60, maybe 70 points in an 82-game season. He just puts up tons of points, so I can see that happening. But I do think personally for him defensively is where he's really going to have a bounce back year next year. Next up's another Hughes bro, and it's Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes actually had a decent second year in the NHL. In 56 games, he had 31 points and he was a minus 3. I think Jack Hughes, he plays even better next year. Like, I actually see him finishing with maybe 60 points in an 82-game season. I see him having an actually very solid year. New Jersey's gotten better. Imagine him playing with someone like Thomas Tatar, who we know can score goals. I think his hockey IQ is unreal, so he just needs somebody who can put the puck in the back of the net, and he's going to be A-okay. I see him doing that for New Jersey next year, and I'm actually very excited to see how it plays out. Another rookie, I got Leif Lafreniere. I see him coming in next year with the New York Rangers and actually having an even better season, as one would. In 56 games last year, he had 21 points. I see him coming in and putting probably close to what Jack Hughes does, maybe around 60 points, maybe even that 70-point mark. I do think if you play Lafreniere on a line with Panarin, they will tear it up. Maybe not on that first line, maybe that second line, but he's just got to play with some goal scoring. And if he plays with some goal scorers, I think he lights it up with the New York Rangers. The tough thing is they traded their goal scorer in Pavel Buchnevich. Now, if they could somehow land Tarasenko and Lafreniere together, that would be incredible. But that is it for me, you guys. That is my top 10 ranking. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think and what players you guys see bouncing back next year. These are just a quick top 10 that I came up with, and I do legitimately think these guys will have bounce back years next year. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, let me know if you guys subscribed, like the video if you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.